Hollywood has always thrived on glamour, illusion, and carefully crafted legacies, but sometimes the truth that emerges after a star's passing can be far more gripping than any film they ever made. The story of Joan Crawford is one such example, a life that rose from hardship to unimaginable fame, only to leave behind questions, pain, and mystery. While audiences admired her strength and elegance on screen, the reality behind closed doors revealed a far more complex woman. What unfolded after her death was not just a farewell to a legend, but the beginning of a haunting narrative filled with emotional fractures, family conflict, and unsettling discoveries that continue to fascinate people even decades later. A life forged in hardship. Joan Crawford's early life was far removed from the glamour she would later embody. Born into poverty and instability, she faced abandonment, financial struggle, and physical hardship from a very young age. Her childhood was marked by resilience, shaped by experiences that forced her to grow up quickly and develop an intense survival instinct. Even a serious injury in her youth left lasting psychological scars, particularly a deep fear of illness and contamination. These early struggles didn't break her, they sharpened her determination. She sought escape through performance, first in dance and stage work, gradually building confidence and discipline. This foundation of hardship became central to her identity, influencing both her career choices and personal behavior. The strength she displayed publicly was rooted in these early battles, but so too were the insecurities and need for control that would later define her private life in ways few truly understood. The rise of a Hollywood powerhouse, Crawford's transformation into a Hollywood icon, was nothing short of extraordinary. After being discovered and signed by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, she reinvented herself completely, adopting a new name and persona that would soon dominate the silver screen. Her early films captured the spirit of ambition and independence, resonating deeply with audiences. Especially during difficult economic times, she became known for portraying strong women who rose above adversity, mirroring her own journey. Her relentless work ethic set her apart. She demanded perfection and pushed herself physically and emotionally in every role. As her popularity grew, she became one of the most bankable stars of her era, admired not just for her talent, but for her determination. Yet behind the success lay immense pressure to maintain her image, and the same drive that fueled her rise also began to create emotional strain in her personal life. Rivalries and cracks behind the spotlight. As Crawford's fame grew, so did tensions within Hollywood's competitive environment. Her rivalry with Norma Shearer became particularly well known, fueled by industry politics and competition for leading roles. At the same time, comparisons with Greta Garbo highlighted contrasting public personas, Garbo's mystery versus Crawford's relatability. While she thrived professionally, her personal relationships were far more turbulent. Multiple marriages ended in heartbreak, often marked by conflict and instability. These emotional struggles were compounded by her intense need for control, which extended into her home life. To the public, she appeared glamorous and composed, but privately she grappled with insecurity and fear of losing her hard-earned status. This duality, strength on screen and vulnerability behind the scenes, created a tension that would only deepen as her life progressed. Reinvention and a triumphant comeback. When her career began to decline in the late 1930s, Crawford refused to fade quietly. Leaving MGM was a bold and risky move, but it ultimately led to one of the most remarkable comebacks in Hollywood history. Her performance in Mildred Pierce marked a turning point, earning her critical acclaim and an Academy Award. The role, which portrayed a struggling mother facing emotional turmoil, seemed to mirror aspects of her own life, adding depth and authenticity to her performance. This period proved her resilience and ability to adapt, even as the industry evolved. However, the success did not bring lasting peace. Off-screen, her struggles continued, particularly with personal relationships and growing dependence on alcohol. The contrast between her professional triumph and personal challenges became increasingly pronounced, revealing a woman constantly fighting to maintain control over both her career and her inner world, family life, and hidden tensions. Crawford's role as a mother was one of the most complex aspects of her life. Unable to have biological children, she adopted 4, presenting an image of a loving and devoted parent. To the outside world, her family life seemed ideal, reinforcing her carefully curated public persona. However, beneath the surface, tensions were growing. Reports from her children later suggested a strict and often emotionally intense household environment. Her need for order and discipline, possibly rooted in her own difficult upbringing, created a rigid structure that left little room for emotional warmth. While she may have believed she was providing stability, the experience for her children was far more complicated. This disconnect between appearance and reality would later become a central theme in the controversies that followed her death, raising questions about the true nature of her relationships with her family. The shocking will that changed everything. After Crawford's death, the reading of her will sent shockwaves through Hollywood and her family. While some of her children were provided for, 2, Christopher and Christina, were explicitly excluded, with a statement that suggested unresolved conflict. This decision stunned many, as it contradicted the public image she had maintained for years. The exclusion was not just financial, it was deeply personal, representing a final and public rejection. The legal battle that followed brought private family matters into the spotlight, exposing tensions that had long been hidden. Although a settlement was eventually reached, it did little to heal the emotional wounds. The will became a defining moment in Crawford's legacy, shifting public perception and prompting deeper scrutiny of her personal life. It marked the beginning of a broader reevaluation of who she truly was beyond her on-screen persona. Disturbing discoveries behind closed doors. As Crawford's estate was examined, several unsettling discoveries added to the growing sense of mystery surrounding her life. Items found within her home hinted at a deeply private and possibly troubled inner world. Collections of unusual objects, heavily secured rooms, and signs of extreme control painted a picture that contrasted sharply with her polished public image. These findings fueled speculation and aligned with claims made later in Mommy Dearest, which portrayed her as a strict and sometimes harsh parent. While some dismissed these accounts as exaggerated, others saw them as validation of long-standing rumors. The discoveries raised more questions than answers, leaving people to wonder how much of her life had been carefully hidden. They contributed to an evolving narrative that blurred the line between myth and reality, fame, legacy, and lingering controversy. Crawford's legacy remains one of the most debated in Hollywood history. On one hand, she is remembered as a trailblazer, a woman who rose from poverty to become a symbol of strength and independence. On the other, her personal life continues to spark controversy and discussion. The publication of memoirs and ongoing public fascination have kept her story alive, often focusing on the contrast between her public achievements and private struggles. This duality is part of what makes her story so compelling. She was both admired and questioned, celebrated and scrutinized. Her life serves as a reminder that fame often comes with hidden costs, and that the reality behind the spotlight can be far more complex than the image presented to the world. A haunting aftermath and lasting mystique. In the years following her death, stories of unexplained occurrences linked to her former home and belongings added an eerie dimension to her legacy. While such accounts remain unproven, they reflect the lasting fascination with her life and the emotional intensity associated with it. These stories, whether believed or not, symbolize the idea that her presence continues to linger in cultural memory. More than anything, they highlight how deeply her story resonates with people. Crawford's life was defined by control, discipline, and reinvention, but in the end, it is the unanswered questions and contradictions that keep her legacy alive. Her journey from hardship to stardom and the complexities that followed ensure that she remains one of Hollywood's most intriguing and unforgettable figures.